Sheeples, this is part two of Harry Potter, and this is Z.
Woo! Hello,
Whoa!
Sheeples, and this is Patfoot, like last time.
Yeah.
Should I stick with Patfoot this time? Maybe I can change to Mad Eye because
Mm,
we are moving on with the story as well. So
yeah.
with the and we, this is gonna be the start with of the main plot and the
Yeah, well, that depends. How moody do
war.
you get?
I get very moody.
Okay,
You
Mad Eye
can
it is.
you can call me Mad Eye Moody for sure today.
Uh-huh.
So let's do that.
Dude, Moody was an insane character, man.
Oh, definitely. But before
And
we get to all of these
yeah,
things,
yeah.
we gotta thank the sheepers who heard the podcast last time and like gave
Thank
us some good,
you, Sheeples, guys
gave
and girls, and
yeah,
everyone out there.
gave us some amazing feedback, to be honest, because
Yeah, like keep it
uh,
structured and
yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah,
get
yeah. We
scattered.
were very distracted in the beginning, and we were
Yeah,
we realized it as well
sure.
later on. But then you know what? It's just the fun of it, right? Like just Harry
Yeah,
Potter
right.
just gets us too
It
excited.
gets our
But
cogs and wheels going. Plus, we're learning,
yeah,
right? Like we're new at
and
this, and it's
we
just
want to shout them out actually. So
yeah,
just to say thank you,
go
Shreya, and
for it.
thank you, Riddhi. You guys truly like thank you for giving us the feedback, and it helps us improve, and we want to get better and better and create the
You're the boss.
best quality content we can, and improve
Wait,
this
so
community as
Riddhi
much
was a
as we can.
Slytherin, right? And Shreya was a
Yeah.
Gryffindor.
Oh yeah. Like
Uh,
both the houses that are assertive in life, right?
so Salazar and Godric, the
Oh
offsprings,
yeah.
and I'm the offspring of
Descendants.
Ravina Ravenclaw.
Ravina.
We
For me,
gotta
it's
get the
Helga.
Hindi in there,
I,
yo.
for me, it's Helga, bro.
Helga
So
scenes, Hegla scenes हो रहा है.
Hegla हो रहा है.
क्या
Um,
मेहनत कश, oh my god. एक कश मेहनत की.
you're still tripping on it, huh? Like,
Dude,
Z is still tripping on
that trip,
that
that
same thing.
I still remember, man, reading that BuzzFeed or Scoop article, and I was like, fuck, this is so scarring, so scarring.
I don't
Like,
know. I don't know why you're like that
no,
irritated by it. I just find it funny to an
no, I
extent.
know, but like, just imagine meeting up with somebody who's watched these movies in like purest Hindi, and you've watched it in like the way JK intended, and like the conversations would be so random. They're like, "तुम कौन से घर
Eh,
से हो?" And you'd be
yeah.
like, "Gryffindor," and you'd be
So
like,
here's the thing. What I feel about all this is like whenever you dub a movie into another
"Yeah,
language, a lot of it gets lost in translation, right? Like,
sure,
so many good movies in Hindi won't be
yeah."
translated well into English, right? Like, it just the feelings and emotions sometimes don't come off, and
Yeah, dude, you
um,
remember all of our like this is a tangent, but like all of you out there who used to watch Cartoon Network, let's say approximately till 10, 15 years
our
ago.
structure has gone again.
Yeah, no, but this is a legitimate thing, right? It's connected because the dubbing has been off. Like if you remember the
Yeah,
cartoon Aladdin, the parrot, I think the name of the parrot was no, not Abu,
Iago,
was the monkey.
Iago,
The parrot in English was
Iago.
yeah, so he was a little bit crassy, but in Hindi he just sounded like Circuit from Munna Bhai. I don't know why. He's like, क्या बोलते भिड़ू जैस्मिन को लेते कि नहीं? And I'm like, क्या? What? Dude, my parents got me off cartoons because they heard this one day,
I
and
mean, yeah,
yeah,
I remember it being really atrocious at the time when
fair. But yeah, you're right.
it's
Translation
sad.
does
Translation.
cause.
I mean, I don't know why they wanted to add in the extra stuff, but well,
Yeah, we will
it
put
is
that
what
up
it
as one
is.
of our Insta stories. Huh? Just like one random YouTube. I'm sure there's some YouTube clipping out there.
Oh, I'm sure. I'll try to find it, or if Z
Yeah,
can find it, then Z will try to
sure,
find it and
I will.
whatever.
But
So
let's not stray, and let's start
yeah,
with Goblet of Fire.
yeah,
Again, what
yeah.
was it in
Uh,
brief? One last time. Aag Ka Pyala.
I don't
Harry Potter
remember.
or Aag Ka Pyala. That
But
was
Goblet of Fire, and you know what? One of the main things I want to really talk about with Goblet of Fire, with you and with everyone like who's listening here,
Hmm.
is how much of the book they missed out on, dude.
Yeah.
Like especially like when they were filming this movie, and something I got to know a lot later was like the director himself, right? He generally like did not find the book interesting while directing it. Like he
Okay.
if you ever see his interviews, right?
Mm-hmm.
He always talks about how like the book is so long and why is it like so long, and it's like it just has too much. And Mike Newell, even though he's like a good director and he did a good job, and honestly like I think this movie is one of the favorite movies for most people, I think, because
Yeah.
of the whole dragon stuff
But
and
just to put it out there, if
magic stuff.
Goblet was
Yeah.
if Goblet was a part one and a part two, I would totally buy it. Like I would be sold, like totally
Yeah, yeah,
convinced.
yeah. Like as a book, it has so much in it.
Too much, like a lot of story for one
It's
book.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a a lot of story for one book, and
Yeah.
genuinely, like, it talks about so many things. Like, it has the whole Fred and George kind of blackmailing Ludo Bagman, if you remember, if you
Mm-hmm.
remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the whole aspect of how so one of the biggest aspects of this book was the mystery behind who like made the dark mark in the Quidditch World
Dark
Cup.
Mark. Yeah.
No, we
I
didn't know it in the
remember.
beginning.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember the book beginning out with
yeah, Tom
everyone
Riddle.
really excited about
Yeah,
the Quidditch tournament finals happening, and
I
then
like no. Even before that, dude. Like, I think the book began with like the Riddle family murder, right? If I'm not wrong.
huh, correct.
Like
It goes back in time.
Riddle. So Tom Riddle, or rather Voldemort,
Mm-hmm.
killing his father and his family, right? Like
He who
Tom
must be
Riddle's
named,
senior.
because
Yeah,
motherfucker, we not scared of
he,
you.
who must be named.
Yeah,
Like, we will never be scared of him because
yeah.
if we are, then we give him
Because
power.
our ancestors fought for us, so we have the
Yeah.
privilege of not being scared.
Yep. Yep. And Harry is the goat for that for sure.
Yeah. Like just imagine if like a few, let's say the world is destroyed and they probably find one of the Harry Potter books ka manuscript somewhere buried once the world begins all over again. Just imagine they would probably believe that Harry Potter is like a,
A real
an
thing.
event of the past.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
if
that would be a
that would be so
very
cool.
interesting world to be in.
Like a religion where you're worshipping Harry and Dumbledore and they're the gods and like that would be a brilliant religion. I would take part in that for sure.
I
For
mean,
sure.
you can still technically make that into
Yeah.
a
I think
religion
that's
if you
what
want.
fandoms are, right? They're like in a
Yeah.
way as close to religion as you can
Yeah,
get.
like, if you really want to think of it that way, yeah, you can kind of. I mean, there is the whole Star Wars religion and all, but again,
Yeah.
we digress. We were on the whole point of like us, the whole Riddle family murder, right? And
Hmm.
um, especially like I think the way they started out, like in the movies, they kind of showed Barty from the beginning, even though they didn't mention his name, like the first scene, but you still
Hmm.
saw his face, right? And you had this
Hmm.
like random person in your head that, okay, this is someone who's like gonna take come into play in this movie, while the book itself like never mentioned like another person being in the room, right? Like, it was always
Yeah.
just Voldemort and Peter
Correct.
Pettigrew, right? And that old housekeeper just getting killed over there, and and that vision that Harry has, basically it gets connected because in the beginning you still don't know that this is a vision that Harry had, like this is something Harry saw as well. And you start like getting to know how Harry's connection with Voldemort is starting to become stronger. And
Hmm.
all these different small storylines coming into play, each and everything, like even with the Triwizard tournament, like the way they set it up. And I think the mystery was kind of left out in the movie. As a kid, this movie kind of was my like favorite because of the magic and the aesthetics of it, and really like had a great time watching this. But
Yeah.
as I grew up, I think I started realizing that the other movies are much like better in terms of story.
Mm.
Um,
Fair. I mean, I'm actually on the other side of the fence over here because I really enjoyed Goblet as a movie.
No,
It
I mean,
probably
I,
had
I
to.
love the movie.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you that it's one of my like top movies for sure. But like, I wouldn't consider it above any of the other Potter movies. I don't know about you though.
Sure. No, fair. I mean, to me, Goblet has like a special place in my heart. Even though, like, even after, making the mistake of cutting out the Quidditch finals in the third movie, they did the
They cut out
same.
the yeah
Yeah,
World Cup
like
final.
they set it up so in such
Yeah,
a grand manner, right? You're like, fuck, this is happening, and then
yeah.
boom, out. And then the next
That
thing
was
you know,
such a
they're
big
back to
cup
the
move.
tent.
Just
It was messed up, but
yeah.
I think the reason I connect with Goblet is that uh, I think with Goblet, even like when I was where I was in life, I was moving from being like a early teenager to like a little bit of a late teenager. I think like
Hmm.
with the first three movies, I was a kid and I was pretty naive and I was
Right.
ignorance is bliss and life is good. And I think that way the movies did a great job of mirroring their target
Mm-hmm.
audience, which was pretty much a lot of people coming into age at that point in time. And I think
Right.
in Goblet, because of the book and also of the movies, they've done a great job at converging from the light to the dark. I mean, the
Yeah.
movie and the book actually begin begin pretty dark, right?
Actually,
They
actually,
begin
to
with the
be fair,
murder. They begin with the Triwizard
yeah,
Tournament
yeah, yeah,
getting like you see the Dark Mark coming
yeah.
up, and you see like so much destruction.
100%, man. Like
So
I completely agree with you in this matter.
like
They
because
did a really good job with
I
it.
think Philosophers begins pretty on a neutral note. Chamber
As
begins,
as it is, like
yeah,
philosophers, I don't think they could have done anything dark because it was like an entryway into the wizarding world and an entry to getting to know who Harry was, right?
yeah.
Like, what is this story about and who
Correct.
is this
So
character
I
I'm
think
learning
with
from?
Goblet, they put it up right there that
Yeah,
shit is getting real, and like
yeah,
even when I was reading the book, like I have this crazy ability that I'll try to imagine soundtracks as the dialogues are moving, and like the fourth book begins pretty heavy, begins pretty somber, and you can sense the darkness oozing
yeah.
out after every
And
paragraph.
dude, the book is like that's the reason why I feel like the movie kind of skims out for me,
Sure.
is because the book has so much, and the book does it in such an amazing way.
Correct.
Like the whole story, the setting of the mystery, the unraveling of the mystery, like how
Mm-hmm.
Dumbledore is an inherent like character who's calm about everything throughout, and how like okay, if you wanted to make this movie dark, truly dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
And since the director Mark Newell wanted to make it like he spoke about it in a like this movie is like a sorry Mike Newell he spoke about it in a it's a movie that's supposed to be like a Hitchcockian horror, but also mixed with Bollywood. That's what he literally said. Like if you look at his
Okay.
interview, he spoke about like it's a mix of Bollywood and it's Hitchcockian horror, and
Okay.
that is why like the tone of the movie like has the comedic side of it because a lot of like Goblet of Fire has that fun element of like
Yeah.
you see Harry being that awkward teen becoming older, right, and trying to talk to or like he's looking at Cho and kind of
Yeah.
developing those feelings and having those
Yeah.
awkward moments, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In Hermione's interactions with him, and like the whole Hungarian horntail event was going to happen, and then Hermione comes to the tent and she meets him,
Hmm.
and like
Hmm.
Rita Skeeter just takes that picture, like she's taken that picture of them hugging and made it into like oh the teen romance and all that, and it was really fun to watch like Harry become older in that comedic way as like a growing up kind of a movie
Yeah.
in that sense. But one of the crazy, like the horror part of it, and I'd say like with the whole like Barty Crouch, like the father,
Hmm.
um, having his mental breakdown and
Hmm.
talking to a tree talking about like the ministry work with a tree, and then breaking down onto his legs and going down on his legs, like begging to Harry like just going speaking like any mad crap, and then suddenly he's gone, and then you find his body in the Hogwarts grounds, and he was killed
Yeah.
by his own son.
So I
Is
mean, they find his body beneath the invisibility cloak, or they just find it outright.
no, it was in the grounds. It wasn't, I think, invisibility cloak, right?
Okay, and I think it's after one of those Triwizard events. I think it's
Yeah,
after
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
second event,
It's
right?
it's after the second event. It's after the second
Dude,
event,
we're
and
totally missing the fact that I think from Emma Watson, for a lot of boys out there, the crushing went to Fleur from Berbatov, that school that they came from, and Drumstrang is where Victor Crumb comes
that's
from. So I think the fact that you're told for the first time that there are other
other
wizarding
schools,
schools
yeah. Also,
is
also
is
the
a
fact
huge
that they kind of made it
revelation.
like single gender schools in the movie, right? It's supposed to be
Yeah,
like
that was
both
so
genders.
sort of puts into fact that how cosmopolitan Hogwarts really is,
Yeah.
and
though,
it's
though,
about
though in the books, those two schools are actually like cosmopolitan. Just
correct, correct. So in the movies, they did a very different way. I
yeah,
think the Triwizard tournament being announced, and I remember particularly in the movie, you have
yeah,
this scene where Moody, I mean, you think it's Moody, but it's actually
uh-huh,
not, who's just braving across the storm and coming to the
yeah.
castle. And you're like, who's this strange character? And then, you're like,
Yeah, like who is this guy who's like being so like he's getting such praise from
yeah,
Dumbledore,
Yeah,
and he's
and
supposed to be
and
this ex-horror or something.
yeah, and I know Harry instantly connects because he has this inkling that he wants to be an
Yeah,
author. I don't think he identifies with the word at that time, but like deep
yeah,
down, that's his aspiration.
yeah,
And then they show the
and
whole
yeah, say.
and they show the whole announcement of Dumbledore saying that it's dangerous and this tournament's happening, and you can see that energy in the students, like everyone's like, especially Fred and George, because they know that they want to participate, but they're underage, and they try to
I
come up
think
with a
I think
spell
that's
to
the
like become.
best part of this movie, man, for sure. Like,
Yeah, like everyone's like the entire school gets
yeah,
pretty psyched up because something about human beings and also wizards in this case. When there's a competition, you're on guard, you're on your best
yeah,
foot forward, and I think that whole idea. I mean, like it's right now I'm jumping between the book and the movie, but like the movie is obviously a lot more clear because it has those visuals. So I can like imagine Fred and
yeah,
George casting that spell, trying to look older, and they actually make it inside that
yeah,
line, but they put their
yeah.
names in and they just like get they ricochet out of that line.
And it really turned old after that.
Yeah, they really turn over. So it's
And
crazy, man. I think it
yeah,
stays sane. I think the book stays sane and the movie stays sane till that point. And then
yeah.
right from the first task, yeah, all
Oh,
shit breaks
it
loose.
changes, man.
Shit
And
breaks loose. Like,
I think that's my favorite part about the movies is like the way they handle the tasks. To be fair,
yeah.
like
Like
I really
dragons are
really love it.
shown so beautifully. I mean, the way
Yeah.
they've depicted, like I want to give a shout out to everybody out there who's done the animation.
Hmm.
They've done a hell of a
Yeah,
job. I
yeah, the
mean, just
CGI work is really really well done.
like I was waiting with bated breath, right? When Hagrid sort of cheats and asks Harry to wear the cloak, and he's going on
Yeah,
a date with Madame Maxine.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
you know what? I completely forgot to mention when like she and Hagrid instantly have a moment. Okay, when they first meet, and Dumbledore says Hagrid's a groundskeeper and he's gonna take great care of the horses. Don't worry. And she
Yeah.
says something like they only drink single malt whiskey. And I'm like, what? Horses that drink whiskey. That is apt. That is so apt. And she and
Yeah,
Hagrid have a moment, like they do
yeah,
the whole
yeah,
eye
yeah.
flirtation thing, and Hagrid's like all pink, and I'm like, oh, dude,
Hagrid is such a wholesome
dude,
character. I
he's a
really
character
love
we
him
gotta
in that.
talk about. I think we gotta talk
Yeah,
about him more, man. Like, I think
yeah.
Hagrid's that comfort character in the movie, right? Like, for,
Yeah, he's I think he kind of represents us in a way. Like we just
yeah,
love the whole idea of like the wizarding world, and we are in love with
yeah,
magic and the creatures and everything. And I think he kind of embodies that really well. The other aspect of him being like completely different from everyone is that he was a half giant,
yeah, correct.
which comes to play later on, actually, fifth movie, but.
Yeah.
So that is a little later, but yeah, like his whole story is amazing, and
And it's such a beautiful contrast in the character, right? I mean,
yeah.
like physically, he's shown to be this brute who can rip trees and shit, but deep down, he's like this real softie that's always trying to like protect Aragog, and he's trying to like
Yeah,
trade animals and then buy
yeah.
animals and give them a fair place. And like, I know we're going a little back, but how heartbroken he is in the third book, right? When
Oh,
Buckbeak is
like
supposed to be executed, like that is
I
so
he that was the
heartbreaking.
first time he became like the teacher for the care of magical
Oh my
creatures, and
God, that was
then
such a
all
big
that
moment for
happens,
him.
and yeah, and
Like first
that was sad.
lesson, who would have thought? And that's also because
Yeah,
of the idiot Draco, who just my
yeah.
father will hear about this.
Dude,
Why?
but Draco's like had a weird journey, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, like as we were saying, like his whole like first time teaching, and then
Hmm.
I wish he could have had like a better year and like
Yeah.
had more of
Why
chance to
am I
become
not
that
able to?
teacher.
Why am I not able
But
to remember more about Draco in Goblet? I think he has like a relatively smaller role, right?
yeah. But the whole Goblet of Fire is like more about introducing the idea of Death Eaters and Voldemort's return, right? Because
Fair.
that's the main part of the whole story, where everything is being set up. You
Yeah.
see you see you see Voldemort's like Nagini basically become another Horcrux
Yeah.
around that time,
Yeah. And dude,
and
Nagini has some personality, yeah. Like no
oh
dialogues.
yeah.
All she does is like hiss.
Yeah.
But she has this.
Parcel tongue, my friend.
Yeah, you're
She
fucking
does have
afraid.
dialogues. She
Cause
does have
yeah,
dialogues.
she does have dialogues. But like you are afraid of her. Like the minute Nagini
Yeah.
comes into the picture, you're like, cause just the
She's
idea
a
of a
snake, man. Like, I think I'm in general afraid of snakes,
like
I'd
okay, let's
say.
we're not stopping at snakes. We're going at a fucking giant
Yeah,
anaconda hunt for the red
yeah.
orchid kind of snake, and
Yeah.
that is scary. I mean, I wouldn't have picked
Yeah.
a better pet for Voldemort.
Yeah. No,
And a
honestly,
fucking
like.
giant snake is like, Nagini, eat! Ah, give me chicken
No,
tandoori, I
no,
will
but
eat.
Nagini becoming a Horcrux, and also like Peter Pettigrew finding like Voldemort's desolate body, and then using Nagini as a medium to get him back, which
Mm-hmm.
is why he looks so much like a snake.
Yep.
Is like much more horrifying for his character in general,
Yeah.
because like just his return is so crazy because it's building up throughout the book, right? Like that mystery is building up with Barty Crouch, and like the father died, and oh, just to say, like in that second task when he died in the movie, right? That second task is so beautiful. Just
Mm-hmm.
like when you watch it, and the way they worked on the CGI again, like dragons one thing, but that task being underwater and filming
And
underwater, it hadn't been done
and the
before.
soundtrack behind it, like
Yeah,
the music that plays is just like, the choir of angels and like
yeah.
underwater beautiful.
The
Like,
whole
and
mermen and more people,
yeah,
mermaids,
you wouldn't
mermen.
imagine, right? Like
Yeah,
the all of this being beneath the lake, but then,
yeah.
Morning Myrtle tells him that yes, there are people, and then
The
like
prefect's bathroom, right?
yeah,
Like
I
when he has the
mean,
bath.
Harry has his first fight with Ron, and I mean, it's insane, right? Like, cause
Yeah,
like there is this weird couple of pages in between where Harry and Ron aren't talking, and you realize that's such a big void, right? Because he's
yeah.
always been
And
talking.
in that you can really see Hermione's plight as well. Like
Yeah,
she's stuck
just
between
stuck so
two
hard.
two two best friends. One of
Yeah,
them, like, she's developing feelings for, and the other, like, she knows has been through so much, and she like she's been there for him. He's been there for her, and like
yeah.
just being between these two people who she knows like are brothers in everything,
Hmm. Hmm.
and just the whole relationship being turned around. It was really done well in the movies as well, because I think
Correct.
the way they shot it, right? Like as soon as Harry's name was called out of the goblet, you see everybody's reactions, and then it's like just silence. There's no music, there's no background music. It's just people staring at Harry with that look of judgment, like he's just like Harry Potter just wants to keep like doing this publicity stunt all the time. Why is he like? Why does he always want to be in the limelight? And like people just like attitude towards him again, going against him and making him isolated was really like interesting to watch. And Hermione struggled to, like, I want to isolate my friend. I still trust in him. I know that he wouldn't have done something like this. Is truly like really sweet and like wholesome to see, because she's the one who's like supporting him and being there for him, and especially when Ron didn't know what to think, and he himself was confused about the whole thing,
Yeah.
was really nice.
But then, no matter what, he's still cheering for him
Yeah,
from the stands, and
yeah,
they're like, "What? Harry died?"
yeah.
No, Harry's alive because Harry just jumps up and like he just like
Yeah,
does a backflip, goes back into the water. Gillyweed, yeah.
yeah. Also, like
And
they did a really good job with Neville, huh? Like
yeah, I
in this
mean Neville's
movie.
trying to help out Harry, and
Yeah.
then and Harry's like, Neville, and unless you have some kind of cabbage that helps me breathe underwater, I really
Yeah.
don't care right now. And he's like, well, I don't know about cabbage, but there's always gillyweed. And
You know,
Harry's like,
I think it
what?
was a smarter decision to have Neville give him the gillyweed instead of Dobby,
Yeah.
like in the books, because it kind of helps you see Neville's development as a character as well. Because I think in the books, Neville doesn't get as much development for being like the second child of prophecy, or the potential child of prophecy, as
Hmm.
compared to Harry.
Yeah.
And which is understandable. You can kind of understand why, but like the movies really do give him that spotlight of his character is going through his own arc and what he's been through, and just like the whole idea of who Neville, like you see that kid who wants to help out and do whatever he can for his friends, kind of starting to come out from his shell,
To
and
like being that kid in the first year who gets a remember all from his grandmother
yeah,
to going to helping Harry, to with the
yeah, yeah,
gillyweed. I think, I mean, there are a lot of background characters in the Harry Potter universe, right? In the
yeah,
books and the movies. So you have Seamus Finnegan, and you have Dean Thomas, and
yeah.
you have all of these
Colin Creevy and all of
Colin. So
those,
you have a
yeah,
lot of background characters, and it's so interesting because the authors or the directors could have taken the chance to give, like, all of these could have been having significant development, but only few of
Mm-hmm.
them get that in the books and the
Yeah.
movies. And it's interesting to see that Neville's one of them. I mean, one character I would have really loved to see more form was the wait, I'm forgetting who was the captain of the Quidditch team, Gryffindor Quidditch team in the first, Oliver Wood.
Oh, Oliver Wood. Yeah,
He
yeah,
seems like such a brilliant character, but
yeah.
he doesn't really get a lot of footage. I mean, I would have loved to see him
I
grow more.
mean, there's so
I'm
much so much
Yes,
history to each and every character, and
exactly,
the
exactly.
movie does not have like that much time to show everyone, right?
Exactly.
So
So I mean, it's
sadly,
nice that Fred and George get a lot of limelight. It's
yeah,
nice that Neville gets a lot of limelight. I mean,
yeah.
to some extent, Padma and Parvati Pachil also get their share of limelight when they get.
You know what I really find irritating about the whole Yule Ball in this matter
Yeah.
is like their dresses were so bad. Why did all do that to them? Like we have in we have so many better sarees. Why do you do that? Like
Yeah.
whoever chose the dresses, like
Yeah, man. Like
read up
I
on
think
Indian culture, please.
it's the same reason, right? Like why, like as Indians, we might find it annoying why Apu is a character in Simpsons, or why
Yeah,
Raj Kutrapali has that particular way of talking. And
yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't be wrong to say that that's seriously stereotyping it. But I think when I mean, I'm just playing the devil's advocate here, but I think when you're from looking at from an objective viewpoint, people without that accent probably only are 1% of the entire population. I think a large part of
the
India is
accents. I was talking about the sarees, man.
no, I mean, saris, accents. I'm talking about us feeling that, we might be typecasted or we could
Oh,
have
acha,
done
that
better.
way.
But what I think happens is the critical mass is what people like to show. And I think
Yeah.
that's why Apu features on so heavily. Or like, I know
I
it's
mean,
a
honestly,
tangent.
I find it like fun to have like Apu and Raj and
No, I mean,
these
I know a lot of
characters.
people. Like, so my dad gets really annoyed. So one of my reasons my
Really,
dad doesn't watch Russell Peters is because he feels that it's too
he's playing
too
too much into the stereotyping.
yeah, he's playing the race card too
Uh,
much. He's
right.
that's not how Indians are. But I think that's the critical mass. But
Yeah.
we wouldn't want to accept that. Like, cause like The Big Bang Theory was a very recent series. We were sort of comparing parallels over here. But there's a reason why Raj Kutrapali had that kind of accent. Is because there was a critical mass. But
Right.
let's go back there. Padma and Parvati had a little bit of character development happening,
No,
and
I
we
really liked their character. Like they have good characters in the books as well. It's not like
yeah
they don't. And the only sad part here was like just like they. I mean, I don't know. The dressing is the only thing was I was saying like is not done well. Otherwise, it's fine because again, you can't give too much time to each and every character when like you have so
Yeah,
much of
I
a
mean,
story
they
to
didn't have like
adapt.
thick accents. That was
Yeah.
definitely
I
a plus
mean,
one.
that wasn't something I don't think I was worried about in
Yeah,
general because I think at the time we never thought of it like that, right? Like
fair.
as we grew up, we kind of got to know that accents is a thing and people,
Wait, do I talk like that? Am I shaking my
yeah,
head when
people
I
kind
am
of
talking like that?
talk about accents in a very odd way.
I don't know, man. I think
Yeah,
that's
man.
always going to be a sore spot for some people.
Uh, I mean, I
Yeah.
think we need to kind of learn to laugh at ourselves in this matter.
Fair. Yeah. That's important, I think, and that's why I think humor really
But
helps. But yeah, going
anyway,
back, before you know it, it's the third task, and
yeah.
I think the third task's not really the maze as much. It is fucking Voldemort being reborn. That fucker finds a way to come
Though
back.
in the maze, like I think
Dude, the
they didn't do
Sphinx.
the
The
Sphinx
Sphinx was
riddle,
fucking
man.
scary, and then the
I wish
walls
that riddle
closing
was
in.
there. Yeah,
Yeah. The walls closing in is another thing, and then, uh, but the fact that the maze the cup turns out to be a portkey, and like what are the
yeah,
odds that Cedric and Harry go in together, right? Like
yeah,
it's extremely unfortunate because like skipping a little forward, you can see how distraught Cedric's father is till the end. I mean,
dude.
and
I think that's one
he's
of the
he's even
most beautiful
distraught in
scenes in this movie.
he's even distraught in the Cursed Child. I mean,
Yeah,
when they show a grab
yeah,
of him I mean, he's
He
still
wants he
clearly,
wants to he wants Harry to use the time turner to kind of go back in time
yeah,
and
yeah, correct.
save his son.
I
But
mean, so that's extremely
yeah,
heartbreaking, and I know that
but
for a lot of my
I think
friends out
yeah,
there, Cedric was like suddenly became a
yeah.
heartthrob overnight, right? Like I think, and that happened mostly with a
That's
lot of.
because Robert Pattinson, man, like
So so
Twilight
did
Robert
I
Pattinson.
think Goblet happened first, and Twilight was after,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so but I remember like in when I was living through the Goblet era in real life as well, I knew a lot of my friends were like absolutely heads over heels for
Yeah.
Cedric, and I can see where they're coming from, right? He
Yeah,
has that archetypal like features, and then everyone was
yeah.
going gaga, and then when he died, I remember being in the movie theater and so many people just sobbing,
Mhm.
sobbing, sobbing, because
And I
you know,
think not only like the fact it's not just about him being like good looking. I think like the fact that someone that was Harry's friend
yeah, and then he was from your
yeah,
house, right? So
he,
he
he
had
he's
those
from he's
noble.
from Hufflepuff.
He's a huff.
He's a Huff. I'll always be proud of Cedric. Um, but like the fact that like someone who was so young and had
Hmm.
so much going for him
Yeah.
is the first to die as soon as Voldemort is back.
I
And
mean, he was a badass Quidditch player as well. I think they were
yeah,
talking about a future in Quidditch. I
yeah.
think they catch him in the beginning also at the Quidditch. Yeah, yeah, of course. Cedric's father is
And
there.
I think Cedric's father, just like the fact that that scene was shot in such an amazing, hauntingly chilling manner,
Yeah.
because you just hear him screaming,
Dude,
and
that
his
was
screaming is
just,
focused on, and uh,
yeah.
the father does such a good job in like portraying that role
Hmm.
of like that you can feel that agony like
Yeah.
of him losing his son, and just like that is it's that moment where you realize how serious the series is now and how different it's going to be from this point on, because
Dude, and Harry's like completely hallowed, right?
yeah,
I mean, like of course, with like throughout when they're in the graveyard and the entire thing's happening, Harry's so confused and so scared. But he chooses to fight, right? He chooses
yeah,
to go out, and you have that the classic cocktail of binaries, right? You have Voldemort with Avada Kedavra, and you have Harry with Expelliarmus. Like that's such a classic combination. I think that stayed throughout. It just shows how such a simple spell
mhm.
can, if you have the kind of heart. Just of course
I
we
think
later get to
yeah,
know that it's because of priori incantem, like
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
wand sharing the bond
yeah.
that I'm sure if it was a regular wand, Harry would have been Avada Kedavra long ago. But
So,
you
I
know
mean, the other factors, I think, and this is something that's really stressed on in the series from the beginning, is the power or the strength that Harry has that Voldemort doesn't, right? Is
hmm.
the power of his like love and friendship and his like people around him, and that's what really powers his magic up and
Yeah,
kind
right.
of
Because when the
makes
spells
him
connect,
stronger.
everybody that
Yeah,
Voldemort's killed in the backward order, they start popping
yeah.
out, and they actually go on to really protect Harry,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's
And like just the
insane.
moment, I think it's such a sweet scene of like his mom and dad just being there and be like saying
Uh,
like we hold him off for you. You go and grab the cup,
Grab the
get
cup.
Cedric and grab the cup and go
Yeah.
back to Hogwarts.
And
And
that transition is
yeah,
insane, right? Harry comes back, and then there is like celebration for like a
silence,
brief
just
three. No,
silence.
there is celebration for like a brief
Yeah, yeah,
three to
yeah,
four
yeah, yeah.
seconds, and like Harry's the winner, and then Cedric's not
And then,
moving, and
dude,
oh,
like the moment, the way the band drops off, right? Like,
it's just
just oh,
that transition
yeah,
is hard, and then we all remember the whole classic Harry being
yeah.
whisked off by
Uh,
supposedly
Mad
Alistair
Eye.
Moody.
Yeah,
And
I
I
know.
mean, like, what are the odds, right? Dumbledore and
Yeah,
Snape turn up just in time, and like I still remember the movie did such a crazy job. When Moody's trunk opens up and there's like a fucking bottomless pit,
yeah,
but there is a bottom, and then Alistair is sitting at down below.
yeah.
Damn, that book ends
But
with,
one of the best ways they reveal that this is not like Moody in general
yeah, the
is
tongue
just
flick, right?
no, 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 not even the tongue flick.
Okay.
It wasn't the tongue flick, man. It was tongue flick came later on when once he said that one line, and that made Harry question him. It was
Hmm.
like, how many more people were there in the graveyard?
Yeah,
It's a simple line. It's said in
yeah.
a dialogue. It's not focused on too much. There's no like music behind like building up to this dialogue. It's just that
Yeah.
he said it in passing, and then Harry's like he's trying to explain it, and then suddenly he catches it. He
Hmm.
catches the fact that he said, "How do you know it was in a graveyard?"
Yeah.
And that's when you see the tongue flick, because
Yeah.
just before the tongue flick, this small dialogue like it changes the whole idea of, oh wait, is this actually Mad Eye? And
Hmm.
what's going on here? So that was actually a really good thing that they did. Though the one thing is there in this movie, Dumbledore, they kind of changed his demeanor in a way, if you want to
Hmm.
call it that.
He's a little distant, right? In this, or is it
More
this,
than
or is it?
distant, he's angry in most scenes. If
I
you
mean, which is it the fourth or the fifth book? I think it's the fifth
fourth
book.
book,
No, no, it's the fifth.
fifth
It's the fifth
movie
book
is
where Harry actually feels that
he's distant.
Dumbledore's
Yeah,
ignoring him, and I
yeah,
think
that's a
yeah, yeah,
different. That's a different
that's it.
thing.
Yeah.
This is where everybody kind of took up against the whole idea of why is Dumbledore an angry person? He's not supposed to
Hmm.
be like
Hmm.
like throughout his whole persona is of like that calm but powerful wizard. And
Yeah.
in this movie, he was kind of like, uh, "Why do you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?"
I'm
Right?
like, okay, Dumbly, I thought you were my
Yeah,
friend, but
yeah.
it looks
You're
like
just
you're gonna
angry.
bust my ass.
Yeah, put a cap in your head. But yeah. No, I think just that this whole movie was like it was a very big mixed bag of like fun, a lot of great moments, and some really cool stuff to like
Hmm.
missing out so much from the book, especially because like the director did not like seem interested in the book itself, which is
Yeah.
sad. Even though he's a good director and I really like the movie that he made, it's just that they missed out a lot. But this is, I think, the only movie that does it to such an extent.
Hmm.
Other movies like still adapt well, and